Hey everybody, Tractor Daddy. We'll do a little video today, something, just a little update. Honestly, I'm tired of talking about the Massey Ferguson 4610. It's same typical problems. Nothing's changed with it. Nothing's gonna change. And Agco and Massey, I guess, are okay with that. If you go over and check out Attitude Adjuster, they've just basically told him to sod off and, for lack of better words, pretty much told him to stick the tractor where the sun don't shine. There's nothing they're going to do about it, from what I've gathered. And, well, that's typical Massey, typical Agco. So, heck with it. Let's talk about some other tractors. Let's get y'all's thoughts on other tractors. I personally, like I said, we had a McCormick CX85. Absolute great tractor. Very few problems. Did have a small issue with the clutch, where his clutch went out, but that was 4,000 hours or something like that on the tractor when we had the clutch problem. Other than that, you couldn't have asked for a better tractor. Controls right where you wanted them. Simple to operate. None of this fancy electronic nonsense that they're putting on tractors these days. I would highly recommend McCormick tractors to anybody. If you've got a McCormick tractor dealership close to you, by God, go get one. They're great tractors. They are, from what I've gathered, basically the same thing as Case. I know parts will interchange. I did, when I busted the door on the McCormick 4 or 5 times, and would just go to the Case dealership and buy parts for their Case tractor, and it would, just like going with a Massey, you can go buy parts off for a Challenger or a Valtra or whatever the long list of tractors are that parts interchange. So Case, McCormick, basically the same thing. I can't speculate on the performance or anything of the Case in that same 80 to 100 power range style tractor, but now the McCormick, I can say, is a great tractor. John Deere's got some good ones. Got to be a fan of the 6400. That's a great tractor. Some of their newer ones, you're getting into the same issues you are with these new Masseys and things like that. New Holland, hit and miss as well, and that's with any tractor company. I understand. I'm sure there's some good Massey Fergusons out there in these new ones. Fortunately and unfortunately, the one we have isn't one of them. But I had a friend had a New Holland, had some transmission issues, clutch issues. It was a T4, and they seem to have gotten it fixed. It took them a time or two, but seems like it's pretty well taken care of now. But that's another thing. New Holland, I've noticed, and I'm assuming it's every tractor company now, they put a lot of things on their tractors that, to me, you just don't need. Maybe out west or out in a lot of the bigger 1,000+ acre farms, and when you're planting a 100-acre field or something like that, maybe some of those options that they have for these newer tractors and things make sense out there. Around here in Kentucky in the hills, just doesn't really make sense. I know an elderly gentleman that has it's about 115 or 120 horsepower New Holland. I'm not sure the numbers on it. And it's got so many bells and whistles. Took 10 minutes just to figure out how to get the thing to move first time I got in it. And I mean, You drive out through the field, it decides what gear it wants to be in, just start shifting gears and just around here you don't need that. Let's go back to the old style. These tractor companies, they don't make things to last, because if they make something that lasts, you're obviously not going to be spending your money buying new ones every few years like you do with the ones they have now. But look at the numbers on how many, like the Ford 3000 or Ford 4610s or 5610s, 7610s, 8000s, 9000s, the older Ford tractors, the older John Deere 2440s, 4020s, and even the older Masseys, the 1100s and whatever, 1155s. I'm not sure what the numbers are on them. The older cases, Selectomatics, things like that. Those tractors bought in the 70s and 80s and even 60s and before, still going strong today. I'd be afraid to put a number on how many Ford 2000 to 7610, how 3000s, 4000s, 5000s. There's no tons how many of those there are in my neck of the woods. That is a very popular tractor, and it's simple. It works. That's why, you can let that tractor sit for 2 or 3 months, and as long as there's no issues with the battery, it's going to fire right up. Cousin of mine had a 3930 Ford that the back tire had got a big gash in it, and he had another 4610s. When he busted the back tire, he just pulled it in the barn, and he's got about 100 acres. He doesn't farm or anything. He actually truck drives. And that 3930 sat for 3-4 years probably with, a flat back tire. Every bit of the fluid leaked out of it. Somebody stole the battery off of it. Just nothing. Just no maintenance, nothing. Just sat there in the barn. And last fall, had a tire guy go out, fix the tire. I went out, put a new battery on it for him, turned the key, poured some fresh diesel in there just in case, but I didn't even check to see how much was in it from however long it'd been setting. Checked the oil, turned the key, fired right up within cranking over 5 or 6 times. It's just because they're good tractors. You go back to the 8N Fords, the Fordson Majors, the Massey 35s, those older style. You've got the older Farmall tricycle front end tractors, M's and B's and all that, and the Case VAs and all them John Deere, B's and R's and all the older tractors from the 40s, 50s, things like that. They're still going strong. And then, like I said, that's because back then they made a product that they wanted the person to use, they wanted the person to be proud of, and they didn't want you stuck with repairs all the time. Now that's not the case. Now, now they don't want to make things that'll last. They don't want to make things that are going to work. They want these machines to break down. They want these machines to tear up. They want them to wear out in 2,000-3,000 hours of use. If you're lucky to get that much use. I mean, our 4610 is pushing 3,000 hours. And, yeah, we've used it a lot. We've just fought through the problems with it, which is something you shouldn't have to do. But then if you take a look at Gary's tractor, Attitude Adjuster, he's under 500 hours on a tractor that was, I'm thinking we roughly bought him about the same time. Ours is a 2014. His may be a 2015 or I'm not sure exactly. I'm sure he said it 100 times. I just slips my mind at the moment. But, we've fought through with ours just because it's what we had to do. And same problems from day one, still have them now. And like I said, it's simply because that's what the tractor companies want nowadays. They want you to have these problems. I will, I've heard that Kubota has one of the lowest shop rates right now as far as downtime on their tractors. I don't know. I'm sure somebody can look it up on the computer. I'm thinking that a friend of mine that's pretty computer smart told me that the other day, and he keeps track of all that stuff. Same guy that had the T4. So if he said that he'd done some research and found out that Kubota has the lowest maintenance, downtime and things right now, I tend to believe him. But don't sit here and take that as me saying, "Oh, buy a Kubota." I really don't know. I'm just going by what I've heard. From what I understand, John Deere is starting to have problems where they're getting their tractors made out of states and send them back. And it's everybody. I've heard great things coming from people about the Mahindra, or however you say it, brand of tractors made here in the USA. When they first started, they were, about like Long or Iseki or one of those cheap, some fancy city guy or doctor's going to buy one with a front end loader and a belly mower and a backhoe just because they bought 30 acres and are going to start farming type tractors. But from a little bit of research I've done and what I've heard about them, the Mahindra brand is really coming along. Of course it's still, they're never going to compete with John Deere or Massey or Ford or any of the bigger companies, but I have heard some really good things about them and people really like them, and I wouldn't be opposed to trying one if there's a few dealers around here not really close enough that I could say, yeah, I could just justify buying an 80 or 100 horsepower Mahindra for everyday use. But sorry, I'm a little sick. I sure wouldn't mind to try one. I mean, if they want to bring one out for a demo, I'd be all about it. Like I said, I have a friend who has the smaller 20 or 30 horsepower Mahindra with front end loader, little estate tractor, I guess you would call it. For just use around the house and things like that, and he absolutely loves it. His is one of the older ones, I guess you would say. Granted, none of them are really that old, I don't think. Not sure how long they've been around, but from what I've gathered, they're really upping their game and trying to step into the higher horsepower tractor range, trying to compete with the bigger name companies. I don't really see it happening just because, they kind of got a bad name to begin with, but just starting right out of the gate, everybody thought, oh, well, these are little Yanmars, or, these are little Jap-made tractors, blah, blah, blah. But I've heard some good things, and like I said, I wouldn't mind. Their closest dealership that sells those kind of tractors to me is about 75 miles, I would think. Somewhere's in that range, but, like I said, I wouldn't mind to demo one. I couldn't justify going out and, like I said, buying one to make it as the everyday tractor. But, same with, there's a couple others. I think I'm not sure the name of it. There's one that's around here close that closely resembles the Ford tractors of New Holland tractors. I don't think it's Long. I know Long is but I can't think of the name of it. There's same dealership that sells Mahindra sells them. I haven't really heard much good about them, but it's getting to the point where, hey, if Massey and John Deere, and even Case, New Holland, all of them. But if they're gonna start having crap tractors, well, why not? Me and the old man were talking about it. Well, why not go check out one of these? I mean, made in America. Of course, if you look at their advertisements, they're low maintenance, great dealership support, great maintenance support. Well, and that may be the case in bigger places around here, not so much as far as dealerships and things like that. But it's getting to the point where it almost be worth. I mean, if you can't buy the other tractors and depend on them and know that you're going to get a quality product, well, why not step outside the box and see what these other smaller companies have to offer? There was a guy came in a few years ago around here in our town and decided to open a tractor dealership and was going to sell cloths and the unknown, I would say unknown, but the brands that nobody, Vicon, or not Vicon, I'm sorry, but like I said, cloths and what's the other one that's that color? Fent. Was going to sell those tractors here, and unfortunately his dealership didn't last for a year about it. I think he was there maybe a year before he had to close the doors, because in this neck of the woods here in Kentucky, people are pretty brand loyal and just wasn't willing to step outside the box, which I'm not saying these tractors wasn't bad. That was actually the first time I had seen a tractor with the front hydraulics and front PTO shaft, they're the front 3-point hitch with it. And he had a big nice cloth down there with the batwing style disc mower on the back and the mower on the front. Would have loved to have demoed it. I hear great things about him, but like I said, as far as I know, he was the only dealership of that style tractor, I'm guessing, within a 250 mile, 300 mile range, possibly even farther. And like I said, unfortunately, he didn't last. And that's just the way it is around here. When they get these other tractor companies and things like that to come in, they may be good tractors, but here in this particular spot, it's just not going to work. You can't, we had a Zetter dealership for a while. Not saying they're bad tractors. I've seen some good ones. I've seen some bad ones. But even the Zetter dealership just didn't last long. I don't think that necessarily wasn't because the tractors wasn't selling. That guy just kind of let things go, and I think he just wound up losing his dealership type, situation. But and they may be good tractors when you get into these different brands, but like I said, economically you just can't afford it because the getting parts, or if you have a breakdown when it comes to those tractors, who knows how long it's going to take to get your part, as far as finding a dealership, finding somewhere that's got it. And if you do, it's going to be 100-mile drive one way, or waiting for it to come in the mail type situation. So we're kind of stuck going with the major name brands around here. So in that case, leaves you stuck with having to deal with the issues these newer name brand tractors are having. So, it would be interesting to hear your guys' thoughts on this situation, especially, I'd like to hear what you all have to say about these, we'll call them no-name tractors. Like I said, like the Mahindra, the lesser knowns, or maybe not lesser known, but lesser purchased tractors. McCormick, those tractors came out of nowhere just a few years ago. We'll say within the past 10, 15 years, McCormick, may not. I don't even remember when it was that we bought ours, but they had just started bringing them out then. Around here, they may have been out in other places. I don't know, but around here, we had, when we got ours, they had just started bringing them out, and and still yet you see a few of them here and there around, but nothing like you do the Case and Ford. So I'd be interested to hear your guys' opinions on the McCormicks. Let's hear what you think about the Mahindra. I don't know if you out there in YouTube land, there's a company or farm store, I guess you would call it. It's named Rural King. I've seen them out west. I've seen them all over. We just recently got a Rural King here within the past couple of years. And, some of the other ones I've seen out in Indiana and places like that, I noticed they sold their own brand of tractor or whatever. I'm not sure who made it. I can't even remember the Tractor King maybe or something like that. But, does anybody got one of those? If you do, let's hear about it. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Something around here is going to have to change within the next 6 months. Definitely before hay season starts back up, full force, something's going to have to change because I just don't see the Massey 4610 making it through another year of doing it. Then again, it may, but at this point, it's just so aggravating to have to deal with the issues. And, what I'm worried about with that tractor is I'm going to get 75, 100 acres of hay on the ground, and it's going to go to crap. And then I'm going to be down, going to be stuck having to try to finagle another, larger tractor to pull the roller with, or go borrow one from a friend, or buy one last minute. And, so something needs to happen soon. Not quite sure what. There's a 6400 I've been looking at, just FYI. The old man's not a John Deere fan at all, though. I would love to get one. I'm not a John Deere fan really myself. However, I am a fan of the 6400. Kind of, talking with them about that one. Hoping maybe, something, a little something in the works there. Just stay tuned for that. But something's definitely going to have to change. And even if at this point, if we can't get rid of the Massey, if we have to keep it just to, to deal with whatever AGCO's going to decide to do or what, because you sure can't get much trade-in value on it. And I've looked at on the internet, and those a Massey of that size, those hours, going around 30-ish. I just don't believe at all that our, the tractor we have would bring close to that, especially if they drove it. If they know anything about them, it's nobody wants it. And I have ran into that problem with dealerships knowing about that, not our particular tractor, but that series, the 4610 and 4600 series in general, and all the problems that have arose with them. And I even had a dealership just flat out say, no, a John Deere dealership, about 70 or 80 miles away, flat out just said, no, we are not interested in that tractor. It's just one of those deals. So, well, I'll leave it at that. And like I said, leave a comment, like, subscribe if you want. Don't like it or hit the unlike, whatever. However YouTube's works, but those likes and subscribes are definitely appreciated. Excuse me. Excuse me, like I said, I'm fighting something off here. Ooh. That flu's been going around bad here. Colds, strep throat. Something's coming. But, like I said, I sure don't get paid for this stuff. I just do it because I like to talk about tractors and I like to get the word out there about this 4600 series Massey. But you know, like I said, I'm getting tired of talking about the Massey. I want to talk about something else. You know, you got an old tractor you want to talk about? Leave it in the comments. We'll talk about it. You know, if you got a new tractor you want to talk about, leave it in the comments. We'll talk about it. Now, I will say one thing. You know, when you're leaving comments or you're on these videos, you know, stop to think. Kids watch this stuff. There may not be a single kid ever watch my channel. Then again, there might be, you know, so, you know, try to be appropriate in your comments. I had a guy comment the other day and just completely inappropriate. You know, I've got an open mind. I like to joke. I like to cut up and I like to have fun. But, you know, like I said, when it comes to tractors and machinery and videos about machinery and things like that, you need to take into consideration that even if by accident, you know, there's some farm kids out there somewhere, there's some little kids that are wanting to watch videos of tractors or trucks or, you know, whatever, and they may stumble across this video. So, you know, and then, you know, but so just, you know, try to be appropriate with comments and things like that. And that goes for every comment on YouTube, you know, whatever video. Just, if you put something on my channel that is just, like I said, I like to joke and cut up and carry on. I've got, you know, a fairly open mind, and I'll joke back with a lot of people. But when it's just flat out vulgar or something like that, you're going to get deleted and you're going to get blocked, because this isn't the place for that. I'm sure there's plenty other YouTube channels that are all about that, but, you know, I'm not, and I don't want it on my channel. I'm not a stuck-up prude or anything like that. You'll hear me cuss, you'll hear me, you know, I'll get upset, I'll argue, and just with the best of them, things like that. But, you know, take into consideration the kids and the ladies, and, you know, whatever. Just, you know, mind your comments if you don't mind. Try to be appropriate to the best you can. So, like I said, if it is vulgar, and the particular comment that I am referencing on this particular situation was just vulgar. I mean, just no need for it. I'm guessing, you know, the guy left an appropriate comment on one of my other videos and then turns around and goes to the next video and just, I don't even know where, you know, something like that would come from in watching any of my videos that would, so, you know, and I'm not going to repeat what was commented or anything like that. It's because, like I said, it's just inappropriate and it's not something I want on my channel. So, you all have a good day out there in YouTube land, and Old Tractor Daddy will be back with you shortly. I'll see if I can't do some more videos here real soon. It's kind of hit and miss with the weather around here. Today's sun's shining pretty. It's not too cold, but last night it was ice and snow, and it's just a nasty mess outside right now. So, you know, other than feeding, there's not a lot going on. But y'all, stay safe out there in YouTube lands, and whatever field you're in, or however, you know, keep it up, and let's talk about some tractors. See y'all later. Bye.